When it comes to The Flash, everyone has touted this movie as one of the greatest superhero films of all time. Now that I've seen it, I can tell you guys that is 100% true. Believe the hype. Again, words can't do it justice because you just gotta see this thing, you gotta witness it.
And this movie better be fucking awesome!
Before we embark on our little tale, we gotta set the stage for our lovable little speedster and the rules that come with him, using what we know about him since BVS. I am bringing up what this movie itself establishes, since those will be surprise tools that can help us later. Bartholomew Allen got his powers shortly before Hell on Metropolis was unleashed, an event that he had a tiny helping hand in, meaning he's been operating as the Flash since 2013. This was something left ambiguous until now, and I've assumed in the past that he's been a well-experienced Flash by the time Justice League happens, so it feels good to get confirmation on that. Speaking of which, this movie is a sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League, so Snyder fans can rejoice that this is their follow-up. Shortly after this came out, someone on Twitter demanded I apologize for saying the Snyder Cut isn't canon to The Flash. I mean, the Falsh. Which, first of all, citation needed, and second, if this is because I said the Snyderverse wouldn't be restored, I'm still right about that. You seriously think that this is part of Zack's vision and an indication that he's coming back to finish his Justice League trilogy? Oh, Jesus! Two continuity issues I will say about it being canon though. Zack framed this scene as two strangers laying eyes on each other for the first time and getting an instant crush, while The Flash establishes they know each other from college. Zack had Barry use super speed right in front of Iris, while The Flash never portrays her as someone who low-key knows his secret. The Snyder Cut isn't to blame for either of these though. The Snyder Cut implied that using super speed on other people can cause them harm, meaning relocation is off the table, and The Flash continues using this rule and even points it out. Thank God the Shazam movies aren't part of the Snyderverse. At least, I don't think they are, because, even though this makes Snyder's Speed Force kind of a dick compared to the DCEU and Arrowverse, at least it doesn't discriminate against pregnancies, and I much prefer this to raise the stakes when saving people, especially if one were to make a 9-season show with 20 episodes each with a runtime of 40 minutes per episode. Justice League also established that Barry needs to constantly eat to have the energy required for super speed. Thank God he doesn't have a Cisco in his life that can pull miracles out of his ass, like a super energy bar that instantly solves that problem that seemingly costs nothing to make, and Barry's never seen eating again after it's introduced. Anyway, we begin our little tale with an introduction to post-Justice League Barry Allen. He's running late for his job. He's also running low on energy, so he's stopping by his usual spot to pick up a peanut butter, banana, raisin, honey, and cheese sandwich.
What the fuck is that?
Barry gets a call from Alfred about
A situation at Gotham General. A robbery gone wrong.
About her. This
Hi,
is
sorry,
about
is my
you.
sandwich ready?
I learned my lesson on the boat last year.
If the cashier is robbing you of precious seconds that could be the difference between life and death for civilians, why not use super speed to put together your own PBB RHC concoction and leave the money? How the fuck did CW Bumble Allen have the brains to do this when he wasn't even in a hurry? Please don't tell me he doesn't want to use super speed in front of everyone, because he does this minutes later.
This was never about her.
People literally react to something electric whooshing past them into the bathroom and Barry immediately walking out of it. This implies the same happened when he walked into it and whooshed out of it.
Kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
Ugh, you couldn't have at least made the Flash nice to look at? Why is he covered in glow-in-the-dark spaghetti? Why do his fake abs protrude more than Superman's? I don't give a fuck if this is comic accurate. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The comics aren't a holy fountain of infallible content. You know what this thing really needs? It needs the belt to come full circle to break up the constant red. I really don't get why it's only on the back half. I need a full belt, no half measures, Walter. Also, don't make it even more obvious to these people that you're the Flash by stopping right out in front of the cafe.
Kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
Jeez, if this is how reckless Barry's been with his secret identity, I can't imagine his personal data is any safer. Blood's probably got his social security number and address leaked online and he doesn't even know it. But he could check by using Aura, the sponsor of this video. We all know there are sneaky Pete's out there trying to snoop and steal from anyone who uses the internet. Oh wait, that's all of us. Your full name, your phone number, even your relatives and their info. It could all be out there. And these punks who put it there are invisible to us. But not if Aura has anything to say about it. Aura shows you which data brokers are exposing your information and automatically submits opt-out requests on your behalf. You know that fat junk folder in your email account? Or those random calls from some pre-recorded lady speaking a foreign language trying to rizz you up? Those are thanks to them. Not only will Aura help you reduce the spam you get, but also protect you from hackers who might use your info to try to access social media accounts, bank accounts, and other private things that really ought to stay private. It's easy to set up. You get many features like VPN, password management, antivirus, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. All in one place at one price. If you don't want to pull a Bartholomew and instead step up your privacy game, you can go to aura.com/madvocate to start your 2-week free trial. The link is also in the description. Anyway, Barry is about to make a beeline from Central City to Gotham when he's spotted by a big fan.
Flash! I love you!
Sorry if this sounds weird, but are you actively eating that candy bar? Maybe you could throw it to me. Hi, Bruce. Yes, I'm coming.
The fuck? You got the candy bar and now you're not going to eat it? Why? Are you trying to make saving lives harder for yourself?
Idiot.
Can we please stop portraying super speed like this? Having the environment whoosh past but flashes in slow motion. In between every step he takes, it's like he crosses an entire city block as if he were leaping with super strength rather than moving his legs really fast. His feet also stay on the ground as he's making distance, so he's more so ice skating than running. They actually have a shot later that I really love because they don't slow him down and he's rapidly striking the ground. So Barry arrives at the Gotham hospital and casually looks around as the ground is collapsing. A little bit more urgency and concern would be nice, but he does spot a man trapped in an ambulance.
Bruce, this is a huge mess. Why aren't you here?
Why did you leave him literally hanging and not pull him up? If more ground collapses, he would fall deeper into the hole and it would be even harder for him to get out safely. Dude's been a superhero for several years now?
You idiot! Bruce, this is a huge mess. Why aren't you here? Sounds about right, Bruce.
What, were you just standing there throughout the whole call? Maybe go run around and see who is in need or what you can help with? It's just a giant hole, no big deal, no rush, right? Alfred then tells him that gas and water pipes have ruptured in the basement, so he goes to take care of that, but he tries tangling some cables together without super speed, while more danger could be presenting itself elsewhere. Guess he forgot about... Oh, there he goes. He remembered his superpower. So the front part of the building collapses, and a nurse trapped at the top begins sliding off, along with a handful of CGI babies. Had the moron checked every hallway in the building instead of standing around and not using super speed, he would have known there was someone trapped and he could have broken the door open. Unluckily, the babies are put in lethal situations that will kill them before they even hit the ground. Thus begins a flash time scene, and it's got some issues. Flash hops on furniture and debris to make it up there, but he starts slowing down because he's low on energy. Had he done the sensible thing and made his own sandwich or eaten that free candy bar that landed at his feet, he wouldn't be in this predicament. Hey, they're doing the thing where technology somehow has super speed.
But Madvocate, Batman made Barry's new suit, and he's Batman, so it is possible because he's Batman.
Very luckily for Flash, a vending machine happened to be in one of the rooms that collapsed, so he makes a beeline for it and restores himself to peak energy. No, movie, please. That's not how that would work. What exactly do you think is holding the broom in place so that he can swing off of it? Whatever. Flash performs a series of actions to prevent the imminent fatalities, including the infamous baby in a microwave that everyone and their grandma has laughed at by now.
Baby in the... That's a meme format right there.
Very luckily, it all works out for him. Oh, Yeah, those babies didn't make it out of this unscathed. Wait, why didn't he just pull this baby away from the flame if he can do that? He can still put it in the microwave afterwards for more protection from debris, but he lets it fall into the flame, which is risky and stupid.
Hello? Anybody home?
Yeah, I have no idea how the dog is now second to last in the lineup of babies, when it was pretty close to the building. I guess Flash put it there off screen, but you don't get to hide this when you establish he can't move living organisms that far without fucking them up. He then runs down and obtains a gurney which he softens the fall of the babies onto. Yeah, that nurse is either dead or paralyzed from whiplash. She's been falling from the 29th floor, and Flash didn't soften the fall whatsoever. Amazing how it looks like he didn't feel a thing upon catching her, instead of collapsing. Because you're not exactly going to feel nothing if a body falling for about 90 meters landed on top of you. Guess he's Superman or something.
You made me very tough. I love mother's very
The fuck? Stop screaming already. What, did you come out of the Postal universe? Flash wastes time by being silly and telling the nurse she should seek therapy if that was all too scarring, instead of immediately going to help Batman. Speaking of which, what has he been up to? Alright, so he's been busy dying and killing people while going after this tank. Thought his arc in BVS was deciding he won't kill anymore, but I guess tossing people into moving traffic ain't nothing to be worried about. For context, Batman's after a bottled, highly deadly virus that was stolen, and is now handcuffed to a goon. The chase ends with the driver throwing himself out of the tank, which then steers off the bridge. Batman busts out with the goon and grapples onto the bridge, but oh no, his grapple gun starts malfunctioning. Well, I suppose he could just drop into the water, maybe use his cape wings to soften his fall.
If that briefcase falls into the water, it could wipe out half of Gotham by lunchtime.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The fuck is sealing the virus in the container? Duct tape? Does it open automatically upon contact with water? They're not cracked or anything, and Alfred doesn't even know if they are, nor does he mention this. I guess they just wanted a way to raise the stakes, so this is what they came up with. Vessels that have been strong enough to contain a deadly virus this whole time, but will leak if they touch water.
Oh, that's stupid.
No!
Yo!
No! No!
Nice suit. Looking good, Flash.
Liar!
And you are welcome.
My ego's far too big to say thank you to someone else.
Crawl's on the way, initiating remote mode. Thank you, Alfred.
My ego's far too big to say thank you to someone else.
Liar!
But Madvocate, that's different because it's Alfred and he has a history with him.
Bruce values Diana and her place on the team. His supposed ego wouldn't take over basic respect for someone like her, especially after Justice League.
There are 6, not 5. There's no us without him.
I don't care how many demons he's fought and how many hells. He's never fought us, not us united.
I developed this all-powerful persona to compensate for my childhood trauma.
I too have childhood trauma.
Why are you all talking without being prompted? That's not how the lasso works. You have to be questioned.
Who are you? The lasso of Hastia compels you to reveal the truth. Now, who are you?
We're a small group of reactionary terrorists.
I compel you to tell me the truth.
I am.
Kal-El, the last son of Krypton. Tell me who you are. What is your mission?
Whoever you are in more danger than you think.
What is your mission?
I am a spy!
You can actually resist when being questioned with the lasso, but I guess Bruce is so fucking weak that he will fold even without being questioned.
I'd do a lot better just giving all that money away. If I really want to end crime, I should end poverty.
Why the fuck would you make this Bruce's truth? Like, even if this was true, as nerds on Twitter will claim every so often, don't acknowledge it in universe, and especially don't make Batman himself admit to this. God damn it, whatever, anything for the funny, right?
I know sex exists, I've just never experienced it.
Hey, neither has Twitterberry. Give me one more thing he and the Flash share in common, apart from being insufferably inconsistent, and I might just start believing he's the real-life Flash. Like I said earlier, Barry does this shit in front of everyone, doesn't even bother closing the doors so all can see it mysteriously swing shut after lightning blasted through, then see it reopen with Barry walking out. After this though, we get some consistent characterization for him. Hopefully he doesn't get utterly destroyed down the line.
And I know I missed the meeting, but I'd still really like to present these case files for potential review. I think we rushed these cases. We need to reopen
Rushed?
Barry upsets his boss for wanting to linger on closed cases he believes weren't given proper attention, something he can relate to.
As I talk to my father, who's still in prison for the murder of my mother, which he didn't commit. Yeah, how did I get interested in criminal justice? I can't remember.
So of course, this is his response when his coworkers mock him for wanting to thoroughly analyze evidence.
You know what? I'm so happy you find this all so hilarious, but we are dealing with real people's lives, people's families.
Iris West spots Barry and yells at him for leaving her while he saved the world. Wrong masterpiece. Iris West spots Barry and talks to him because, like I said, they went to college together.
I feel like we saw each other like a few years ago, right?
Feel like you saw each other? She was face to face with him for several seconds after he had just saved her from a horrible death, and then did something supernatural in front of her, an event I imagine would be unforgettable. She just glanced over and recognized him, enough to ditch her reporter duties and go chat, but she feels like she merely saw him years ago.
No, because we haven't seen each other since college.
Barry, if you're so protective of your secret identity, then why the fuck did you let Iris see you? They've made this circus scene worse now because she's not a stranger, she was a classmate.
Maybe I was just thinking about you.
Iris makes things awkward by going into reporter mode, so Barry flees the scene and walks home. He finds a flash drive sitting on his doormat courtesy of Bruce. Okay, to explain the contents of the flash drive, I'm gonna have to tell you about the events leading up to the murder of Nora Allen and the arrest of Henry Allen. Or, Mom Barry and Dad Barry, as this kind soul refers to them in this sensible message I was sent. Once upon a time when Barry was a wee little lad, he and Mom Barry had gone to the grocery store for some ingredients to cook a delicious dinner meal. During said cookout, Mom Barry realizes she forgot a can of tomatoes, so she sends Dad Barry to go pick it up. As Dad Barry was arriving home, a scream from Mom Barry is heard. Dad Barry runs inside, Barry runs downstairs, you get the idea. The movie does not tell us who killed Mom Barry or what their motives were, but Barry assumes it was some burglar who broke in thinking no one was home, hence why it happened as Dad Barry was arriving. Alright, I'll quit it with the Mom Barry and Dad Barry, you just had to be there. What about those scenes with Barry and Joe Barry and Mom Barry and Henry? Pretty fucking odd that the burglar chose to strike during a time where most people would be active at home, given it's a nice and bright Sunday afternoon.
Hey, remember that sauce you make on Sundays?
AKA children aren't in school and parents likely aren't working. Pretty fucking odd that a burglar would think the house is vacant when Nora was cooking in the kitchen, which is by big open windows with clear views to the street and backyard. But perhaps this burglar is simply a colossal dumbass. Nobody checked the window by the kitchen. So Henry is blamed for the murder, and unfortunately his only alibi, being caught on camera at the grocery store, isn't admissible because the footage was corrupted. Until now, thanks to good old Bruce, who unglitched the footage
using the latest tech from Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah, I was getting there. Bruce has unglitched the footage using the latest tech from Wayne Enterprises. That's what's on the flash drive.
And it's crystal clear now. It's just, you never look up, Dad. You can't see your face.
Oh, it's useless anyway. Alright. Let's go over why this is all bullshit. You're telling me this was the only camera in the store that Henry was in the field of view in. There weren't any cameras pointing towards, say, I don't know, The fucking cash registers where actual money resides? No cameras at the entrance either? The parking lot? Nah, who cares about surveilling people in the main areas where robberies could happen? But God forbid we don't keep an eye on the canned green beans. I'm assuming the clothes Henry was wearing that day is on record when the police took him in and when the scene was photographed. Are you telling me that matching them to the guy in the video won't be enough to help his case? Next, we have a witness and receipts. I can understand other customers not being able to remember someone they likely haven't paid any attention to, but the cashier? The one who was face to face and interacted with Henry? I guess they were of no help and just could not remember ever seeing him. Or the Central City Police just didn't bother asking. Both are unacceptable, so pick your poison. Receipts print the customer's name, date, and time purchases were made, so that'd be enough to exonerate him as long as he used a card. You used a card, right, Henry?
No.
To Steelman the movie, we'll pretend Henry made the unluckiest choices that day and say he paid in cash, used a self-checkout machine, assuming the store in the early 2000s even uses them, and didn't ask for or threw away the receipt. Even so, receipts are still created for the store's records, so the police could check and see if this can of tomatoes matches the receipts and the time Henry claims to have bought it. And this hypothetical still doesn't answer why on Andy's CGI Earth were there no cameras pointing towards the checkout aisles and entrance. In other words, this is a laughably non-functional setup to have Henry Allen arrested, and you should be ashamed that the fucking CW did this better. You know what would make this even worse? If the murderer, as other Flash media has established time and time again, was the Reverse Flash. If it was the Reverse Flash, then this movie just made him a giant idiot because he chose to give Henry an alibi instead of killing Nora with super speed while Henry was present. Could you imagine damaging a popular character that hasn't even been mentioned nor has any screen time? Well, good thing this movie is an adaptation, and if something from the source material hasn't been established in this universe, then we simply cannot use it against the—
Well, Reverse Flash is the elephant in the room, right? Reverse Flash, it feels like you can't make another movie without addressing the one that, in all accounts, is the murder of Barry's mom.
I want to point out a really embarrassing line of dialogue during the flashback because they wanted to slide in the theme of the movie in here, but the execution is totally botched.
This question is stupid. How many calculations can you think of with an answer of 24? There are a bajillion answers.
Indeed there are, Small Fry. There are an infinite number of answers to this question. You could say there are infinite solutions to this problem.
You are right. There are a bajillion answers to this question.
I'm so glad to hear that, Mom Barry. We are all in agreement that this problem has far too many solutions.
Not every problem has a solution. Sometimes you just have to let go.
You just didn't understand what she was saying, Madvocate. She means that not every problem has one single solution. If this was the case, then she wouldn't have said sometimes you have to let go, she would have said sometimes you just have to pick one solution. And spoiler alert, this is not what the theme at the end of the movie is. The ending is about there not being any solutions, unlike Barry's homework.
Good job.
Anyway, Barry takes a look at Bruce's improved footage and calls his dad to let him know that the video is ultimately useless because he didn't show his face.
You need to stop worrying about your old man.
Yo, hold up. Do I even need to say anything? Is it possible I will get comments asking me what's wrong with Barry wearing a giant fucking ring with the logo of his publicly recognized alter ego who exposes 60% of his face, doesn't even vibrate it, and has a very distinct voice? I will, won't I? This video will be premiered, so I want everyone in chat to say it with Toby on the count of 3. Ready?
Ready!
1, 2, 3.
Kinda defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
If you want to get technical, I'm guessing Batman made the ring for him, but Barry still accepted it, so they're both morons. The ring stores the Flash suit as revealed later, in case anyone who hasn't watched the movie, or hasn't watched season 5, or hasn't read Flash comics, or hasn't figured it out on their own is wondering. Anyway, as Henry gets nostalgic and reminisces about Nora's famous tomato sauce, Barry runs to their old house. The call gets cut off as Henry accepts his fate.
understandably leaving Barry a bit hopeless. So he starts running very fast until he's faster than the speed of light because he creates what he later calls the Chronoball. It's presumably in the Speed Force and it resembles a stadium where he can manipulate time as he pleases, and his memories line up in the stands, if you will. It's not like what we saw in the Snyder Cut though, and it's also a new experience for Barry as he is visibly shocked about what he's witnessing. I gotta say, I really like the concept of the Chronoball. I much prefer this over the CW's time travel, which was essentially Watch Mojo top 10 clips floating past Flash. If only it was executed well, with good CGI and consistent graphics. Like, why is the building and baby a cardboard cutout when everything else was in 3D?
Andy Muschietti says some of the perceived weird VFX in The Flash is intended. The idea, of course, is we're in the perspective of The Flash, he said. Everything is distorted in terms of light and textures. We enter this water world, which is basically being in Barry's POV. It was part of the design, so if it looks a little weird to you, that was intended.
Oh, the VFX is bad because it's supposed to be bad. Yeah, we believe you, Andy. Ugh, now I don't like the Chronoball. Wait, why is physically walking out of it the way to exit? He got into it by going fast, so shouldn't he exit by simply slowing down? And how can he just walk to the edge? He was suspended in the center, and moving his legs was the way to move through time. But now he can detach himself from the center and move his legs without affecting time. Yes, this is a nitpick, but the mechanics they chose for exiting the bowl annoy me since I like everything else about it and we didn't need this repeat of Love and Thunder. Now, what isn't a nitpick is how the Chronoball screws with Batman v Superman. Remember this scene? How is it possible that the future Flash doesn't have enough control over time travel and miscalculated how far back he went? When the Chronoball allows him to clearly see the events in front of him, he can manipulate the speed at which everything is unfolding, and even take a sneak peek before committing to the point in time.
It is of no concern.
Again, not BVS's fault, this movie retroactively damages that scene. As you should know by now, I prefer when super speed isn't so OP so there can actually be stakes. The scene ends with Barry retreating his head, realizing what he's capable of. And its mere existence is fucking embarrassing. This scene, and by extension the rest of the movie, happens because Barry decided to break his one rule. Because he got a bit sad.
I don't like to break this rule, but when I approach the speed of light, look, crazy things happen to time.
Yeah, I know the time traveling in the Snyder Cut had no known consequences, but it obviously scared him enough the first time he did it to give himself the no light speed rule. And he had to break it because Superman needed to return and Earth was literally exploding. He knows going faster than the speed of light will cause crazy things to happen to time, and yet he does it anyway for no actual reason. I guess running at like 1 million miles per hour isn't fast enough to cope with his feelings. He has to go more than 500 million? Fuck off, this is very stupid and out of character. And don't tell me, well, he wants to save his parents, of course he broke his rule. No, that's later. He did this by accident. And as far as he knows, he can only go back seconds.
So you're saying you went back in time? Like in Pajano.
Yeah, except Pajano was a second. This time I went back a whole day.
He's genuinely surprised that he was able to go back much further than what he's previously experienced. It's what makes him realize that he could potentially go back years. If he didn't break his rule for no reason, he doesn't realize this and the movie doesn't happen.
Good job.
Barry tells Bruce about his newfound discovery and the possibility of saving both of their parents. Bruce, obviously, tells him to avoid doing this because the consequences could be disastrous. But take a listen to how Bruce puts it.
Any interaction you have with your parents or yourself, you step on the wrong blade of grass, you have no idea what the consequences to that could be.
And it might be worth pointing out Barry's acknowledgement of this.
I know, the butterfly effect, right?
This is followed by some awesome characterization for Bruce.
These scars we have make us who we are. We're not meant to go back and fix them. And there's nothing broken with you that needs to be fixed. Take it from an old guy who's made a lot of mistakes. Don't live your past. Live your life.
It's just a big fucking shame that this is undermined by him admitting under oath that he has a massive ego and that what he does as Batman is inferior to Charity last time we saw him.
Don't let your tragedy define you.
What if it's supposed to define me?
Hey, does anyone remember that Barry had an arc at the end of the Snyder Cut?
I can't sit here and watch you run in place in Central City for some old dude. I want you to make your own future. You're living in the past.
Make your own future. Living in the past. Make your own future, Barry. Make your own future. Make your own past. It's all right now.
Yes, Barry had already come to terms with his tragedy and accepted that his past and future are determined by what he does in the present. Thanks to this film, Barry's regressed back to square one, so that's cool. Isn't it hilarious how it's only been made worse by making the Snyder Cut canon? The conversation concludes with Barry inviting Bruce for a bite after Bruce mentions he's lived a life of loneliness from letting his tragedy define him, and Bruce responds with,
Not this time. Maybe some other time.
Yeah.
Alright then, this could have been worded a bit differently so that Bruce didn't come off as not wanting to be with his friend who just confessed he's contemplating risking everything to reset his life. Whatever, I guess Bruce is sleepy or something.
Nice ride. You have fancy friends.
No, it was an Uber. Exec.
I like this joke. Sue me.
What a joke!
Iris wants to have a chat with Barry, just as a friend this time, and that's when he starts thinking about a way to warn his parents about the killer without directly warning them or stopping the killer himself. He retraces the steps that led to the murder and figures that he could undo it by placing a can of tomatoes in Nora's grocery cart so that Henry never leaves to get it. And this is Barry's rationale for deciding he's going through with this.
Bruce had no interaction. This is no interaction. This is just quick in, quick out, back to the present, like I was never even there. That's how I fixed it. Oh my god, Iris!
So someone didn't pay attention to their conversation with Bruce. He didn't just say no interaction with other people. He brought up how something as minuscule as stepping on a blade of grass could have major consequences, followed by Barry acknowledging this as the butterfly effect. Relocating that can of tomatoes is so much worse than stepping on a blade of grass. If he actually cares about what Bruce said like he claims to, then he should not be thinking about a way to do this no matter how insignificant his solution is.
This has been great. I have to leave.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the... No, 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 no. Look at his lips.
See you soon.
Oh my god.
So, as Barry is running back to the present, our next edgelord of the Snyderverse presents itself. Sorry, Steppenwolf, you have been replaced. Must be some villain that Barry ends up facing shortly after he graduates in this new life of his. I mean, that's why this monster is here amongst his memories, right? Everything in the stands are just memories. Alright, what the fuck? How did this creature get outside of the sphere?
It is of no concern.
Why didn't the fucking Flash dodge this punch when he saw Shadow the humanoid hedgehog running at him from a mile away?
Fastest man alive, what a fucking joke.
Well, that was strange, wasn't it? Perhaps Flash should go back into the Chrono Bowl and see what the fuck this threat's deal is? Perhaps he should go back regardless because he's still in the past considering he had just passed his 18th birthday before he was knocked out? No, you are not entering that house, Barry. You haven't reached the present and you fucking know this. Motherfucker, stop! You know this is the wrong year! You leave the front door open? No wonder you were killed.
If I were a burglar, you would be my best friend.
Que susto, monkey!
I guess that punch knocked the couple brain cells he had left right out of his noggin. He knows any interaction with his past could be catastrophic, and he's still going for it.
Is that Barry? And he's early? What universe is this?
Foreshadowing is a narrative device in which suggestions or warnings about events to come.
Barry changes clothes, eats the delicious dinner meal with his parents. They ask him how he's doing in school, which should have been a reminder that he's in the past and cause him to excuse himself to go check the date. date, but he just kind of shrugs it off because he's an idiot, and it's not until he sees himself outside that he realizes he's in the wrong year.
But
Hang on, if Barry's younger self is here, then why wasn't he in front of him when falling out of the Chrono Bowl? They established that the memories in the Chrono Bowl are from his younger self's POV, and leaving it means he re-enters reality a few feet away from his younger self. So why was his younger self nowhere even near him? Would have made this scene a whole lot different.
Oh shit, I have to shit.
Dude, wear the fucking flash suit if you need to conceal half of your face. This can easily be pulled off. Whatever, dude has super speed. Even if it comes off, Barry can just run and use another article of clothing.
Any interaction you have with your parents or yourself, you have no idea what the consequences to that could be.
Think I'm having a mushroom flashback? Is that a thing? How old are you? Shut up, shut the fuck up!
He already knows the answer to this. He was cheesing in awe as he reached his 18th birthday. And if he somehow forgot, this is the easiest thing to figure out by picking up a fucking newspaper, and yet he felt the need to directly ask himself.
18.
Whew, okay. This is Barry's cue to get the fuck out of here and travel to the correct date. 2013 Barry, who I'll call Terry for Teen Barry, thought he was hallucinating from prior drug use. This is the perfect opportunity for Barry to dip, since Terry will likely continue to think he was simply tripping once he wakes up. What are you still doing here? You're telling me Barry carried Terry upstairs while his parents weren't looking and just waited for him to wake up? This should not be happening, and Barry fucking knows this.
Any interaction you have with your parents or yourself, you have no idea what the consequences to that could be.
What could possibly be so important that he needs to risk the fabric of reality?
This is mad trippy.
No, wait, this is not trippy, dude. This is catastrophic.
Yes, it is, and yet you're not treating it as such for some reason. Okay, I'm calm. Let's just see what Barry so desperately needs to tell Terry before he leaves.
I was supposed to be back in the present, but I'm still in the past, and there's not supposed to be two of me. You and I are not supposed to be occupying the same reality at all, let alone interacting.
That is correct, dipshit. So what the... No. Barry just needs to tell Terry something very important. That's why he's still here. Just gotta wait for it.
You are not doing me a favor. Anything. Which is good.
They don't want to be
because
This 1 minute and 48 second interaction between these two amounted to Barry asking Terry to promise him to forget about their meeting so that space-time doesn't get screwed up, but he wasn't satisfied with that, so he considers drugging Terry so he passes out and forgets. But he wasn't satisfied with that either, so finally, he chooses to knock him out. In other words, he's trying to make Terry pass out like he did in the previous fucking scene. He had nothing important to say to him. This was just a big waste of time. I don't want to see anyone claim he couldn't think quick on his feet because he can literally think with super speed. Alright, let's all chill out. Our protagonist may be inconsistent and dumb as a sack of berries, but the plot can continue to move on as it would have if he left here or here, as long as he runs back into the Chrono Bowl ASAP as possible. Barry cancels the KO because Terry was saying he has a date that night. Then he tells Terry to go about his life and change nothing, even though he already made him promise this seconds ago and wasn't satisfied with that, but I guess he is now. Who even fucking knows anymore? And now this is it. He's finally leaving.
We have so much to learn from each other. This storm's gonna ruin my date. What day is it today?
Okay, first of all, put your flash suit back on. You're leaving with Terry's clothes.
Dick move.
And second, this is why everything idiotic just happened. Why he didn't dodge the punch. Why he forgot he was still in the past. Why he didn't check the date. Why he didn't conceal his face. Why he didn't leave after Terry fainted. Why all this time was wasted. It was so that he could be present for this thunderstorm.
Yeah, that's definitely a case of me just not knowing what to do with the script.
This storm, this is the day. The day I got my powers. the day you get your powers.
Because Barry believes he's literally him from the future, this is concerning. He's operating on Back to the Future logic, so he thinks if Terry isn't present for the lightning strike that gave him his powers, there's a chance they will cease to exist. Thus, it's time to break into the crime lab where Barry was interning at when it happened, via vibrating. This ability was first seen during his talk with Iris at his apartment. Iris had asked for a beer, so Barry stole 2 from his neighbor.
What a great guy, man. What a good guy you are.
I appreciate this being established in a trivial moment like this, and not as a deus ex machina to stop a world-changing event. However, I do wonder how exactly Barry was so sure no one was on the other side or looking in this direction.
Kind of defeats the whole...
Also, however, this makes the instances where he changes at the cafe worse, since he could have just vibrated out of the building from the bathroom instead of doing what he did. Anyway, the crime lab is broken into, Barry sets everything up as it was, and instead of simply doing it, he says this.
I was right under this shelf of chemicals, and that's when the lightning hits.
If Barry had a modicum of common sense, he would have known that anyone would be firmly against getting struck by lightning, and kept his trap shut. Not only that, if he's trying to recreate the accident as accurately as he can, then maybe he shouldn't fucking spoil it since he didn't know what was going to happen that day. Terry starts freaking out, who could have guessed, but Barry calms him down by saying psych.
No. You don't get hit by lightning. The lightning hits the chemicals, which then you get bathed in, and that's what electrocutes you.
Terry starts freaking out again, who could have guessed, and they begin having a little tussle until Barry is in the way of the lightning strike. Luckily for him, it goes through both of their chests and gives Terry the speedster powers. Unluckily for him, it removes his powers. The Flash, causing easily avoidable catastrophes because he won't shut the fuck up since 2014. No clue how this works, by the way. Blood emits an absurd amount of lightning every time he moves, but being hit by a single bolt removes his powers. It's as if it cancelled out the initial strike because it's totally just like math. Speaking of which... the gaping hole in Terry's torso heals back up because he has speedster powers now. Barry got punctured through his chest and his head, but he no longer has said powers. Barry should have a gaping hole going through 2 of his most vital body parts. Barry should be fucking dead.
How embarrassing.
Barry realizes he's Flash no more when he tries phasing Terry and himself out of the building again, now that security suspects there are intruders.
Security the entrance.
Knowing security is searching the building, Barry makes a bunch of noise and raises his voice like a dumbass instead of keeping quiet. So they're probably on their way here now. Terry is flopping around like a noodle harder than I was on September 14, nor does he know how to phase yet, so he and Barry are stuck here. I wonder what creative solution Barry will come up with to get out of here.
I'm slow.
Oh, despite the entrance being blocked, they're just at Terry's apartment now. Somehow.
Yeah, that's definitely a case of me just not knowing what to do with the script.
Some tomfoolery ensues once Terry realizes he has super speed, and it leads to the destruction of an intersection and a city-wide power outage. But it's his first day, so it's fine. A naked Ezra Miller is the second to last thing this movie needed, right in front of the distasteful cameos at the end. Apparently, this is the most accurate depiction of getting superpowers for the first time. And if you disagree, you're just upset about someone having fun.
What am I supposed to do?
Sit still.
Like, I don't understand.
Heroes Unbounded kind of outed themselves as someone who would steal a civilian's food now that I think about it.
Dick move.
Terry figures out phasing. He's tired, he's wasted.
I'm tired, I'm wasted.
Knocks out, whatever, it's the next day. Barry thinks there could still be a way to get back to the present by making Terry run fast enough to create the Chrono Bowl again. And then, yeah, he doesn't even know because there's no fucking way. Summoning the Chrono Bowl requires going faster than the speed of light, and relocating Barry at that speed would kill him, so yeah.
Your optimism is misplaced.
And now it's Man of Steel time. So Earth receives General Zod's request to turn over Supergirl, who everyone and their dog knows is in this as Superman's replacement. For some reason, Barry doesn't hear the parts where Zod refers to her as she or her, which is convenient because otherwise it would have made him raise an eyebrow and question if Zod is actually referring to Superman. For reference, this is the message in Man of Steel.
I request that you return this individual to my custody. For reasons unknown, he has chosen to keep his existence a secret from you. He will have made efforts to blend in. He will look like you, but he is not one of you.
And yes, it's the same message.
This can't be happening. Not now.
To my custody.
What's happening?
For reasons unknown.
Zod's looking for Superman. What's Superman?
Barry explains the Man of Steel lore to Terry and how terraforming is about to happen, followed by this.
If I can find the entire Justice League, then maybe I can prevent the whole thing from ever even happening at all.
You know, earlier I was going to criticize Barry's decision to move the can of tomatoes instead of taking out Nora's killer, because he should have considered it's entirely possible they didn't break in based on Henry being absent, meaning they could end up killing both of his parents, or they could just come back another day when Nora is alone. This decision also neglects the painful obvious. This is a dangerous person. Barry is allowing them to walk free to potentially kill other people. But I figured fine, he's choosing to avoid direct contact with anyone to preserve the timeline as best he can. So whatever.
If I can find the entire Justice League, then maybe I can prevent the whole thing from ever even happening at all.
This line just validated my criticism. He doesn't give a fuck about direct contact or preserving the timeline. If he stops Zod, not only would he save thousands of lives that originally perished, he'd be uniting the Justice League years earlier than they're supposed to, which rewrites their history, and they will potentially reduce the amount of destruction that originally happened, and the effects on the economy and society as a whole would severely differ from the original timeline. Like, you don't need to think much to realize this will thoroughly rewrite history from 2013 to the present on a global scale. If Barry prioritizes preventing the death of innocents over avoiding direct contact with others, then he wouldn't have rejected Iris's idea of stopping the murderer.
If I could just go back in time and stop the guy who did it.
No, I can't do that because that's way too much interaction.
Yeah, fuck you, Bruce. He's ignoring everything you said now. He's even ignoring the only reason for being here in the first place, which was to only change his life. Barry and Terry return to Terry's apartment so Barry can Google each Justice League member to find them. Except he literally Googles Wonder Woman and Aquaman, which is moronic, because he should know that at this point in time, the only one that the public even knows about is Batman. 3 individuals rise and shine from the bed and couch, 2 of them being Patty and Albert, Barry's co-workers I mentioned earlier. Barry is confused about this, but isn't concerned whatsoever. But why should he be concerned, I hear you ask? Well, because moments later, Barry begins having an existential crisis when he learns that in this reality, most of the Justice League members don't exist. Marty McFly is played by Eric Stoltz, Michael J. Fox plays Ren McCormick, and Kevin Bacon plays Maverick. In Barry's reality, he's supposed to meet Patty and Albert once he gets his lab technician job, and they are not supposed to be dating, but they are here and live with Terry in 2013. So that alone should have made Barry realize that the can of tomatoes has indirectly changed other people's history. Speaking of Maverick, I'm now in the mood to watch an actual masterpiece.
But Madvocate, then why do you call The Flash a masterpiece in your title?
Because it's a Twitter Barry copy pasta, okay? And it's funny because there already is a CW live action show of The Flash. Look at me explaining the joke. Fuck you, I'm watching Top Gun.
Mach 9.
He's the fastest man alive.
It's actually hilarious that Barry is freaking out saying he completely broke the universe when his entire goal right now is to stop 9/11 2.0, which would continue to completely break the universe. What the fuck does he even want or care about anymore? Is this epiphany that moving a can of tomatoes caused all of this finally going to convince him that he needs to let Superman and Zod do their thing?
Nope.
Oh, my bad. For some reason, Barry thinks Superman doesn't exist, despite thinking that at this point in time, he's still undercover as Clark Kent, and this is the reason Zod is coming in the first place.
I request that you return this individual to my custody.
Zod's looking for Superman. Superman is an alien who lives on Earth. I'm assuming still incognito.
A few moments later.
There's no Superman.
Hello? Anybody home?
He also thinks Batman doesn't exist either, despite not even Googling Batman or Bruce Wayne.
There's no Batman.
I'm Batman.
If it weren't for Patty saying the Batman catchphrase right after Barry says this, the idiot would go on thinking he doesn't exist. Kinda contrived that he didn't Google Bruce Wayne or Batman, because if he did, he would have seen that he's a completely different person and uses a different suit. But then it wouldn't be a cool reveal, you see. Just like it wouldn't for Supergirl if Barry heard Zod say she. Barry and Terry take a taxi to Wayne Manor, where they snoop around looking for Bruce. In the kitchen, a homeless man pops out of a cabinet and proceeds to beat the shit out of Barry along with some cock and ball torture. Not Barry's cock and balls, he tortures Barry with his cock and balls. After failing to behead Terry with a broomstick, the man finally decides to take a breath and let Barry talk. This dude who nearly cracked open both of their heads and almost impaled Terry's guts with a pizza cutter is Bruce Wayne. Bruce fucking Wayne saw two harmless-looking kids calling his name and decided to give them brain damage and a C-section.
No offense, but you are a stupid asshole.
Well, this is an alternate universe, so maybe this is a variant of Tik Tok Batman rather than Tim Burton's Batman.
Is that water?
Barry simply says he's looking for Bruce Wayne, and all of a sudden Bruce invites them for a spaghetti dinner meal, even though he already knew this.
Bruce? Hey, maybe we could find this Bruce guy if we just ring all these bells, right?
Also, it's really fucking bright outside somehow, even though it was depressing as shit a minute ago. Barry explains his situation to Bruce and his confusion about why things are different even way before the point where he made a change. Bruce then explains that the way time travel works is that changing the past doesn't create a new branch timeline from that point forward, but rather it puts the time traveler in a whole new universe where that change exists.
You what?
This is possibly the dumbest time travel mechanic ever to be put on screen, and it was so obviously done so they could bring in Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle as Batman and Supergirl. Seriously, what the fuck were they cooking? Since this means it's impossible to change anything in your own universe, Flash didn't stop the world from ending in Justice League. He simply hopped into a different universe where it doesn't end, and that universe just coincidentally happens to be identical to the one we're all familiar with. And it coincidentally doesn't have a Flash or Barry Allen. Otherwise, there should have been two Barrys coexisting by the end of the Snyder Cut. And if there is no Flash or Barry in the universe he hopped into, then it doesn't make sense that anybody even knows who he is. And this means Darkseid took over Earth in the original universe. So great work, DC, getting deja vu to when No Way Home fucked with the Raimi and Webb universes. And before anyone gets mad, yes, I'll be using the terms universe and universe hopping for simplicity's sake, because Bruce doesn't imply Barry erased the other timeline, he just put himself in one that has both a different future and different past, which we might as well call alternate universe. If timelines did get erased, then there would be no point in sticking around and trying to save this world, because when all is said and done, Barry is going to have to go back and let Nora die regardless so he can return to his timeline. Bruce also says the more he time travels, the more he'll end up with the multiverse, which literally means multiple universes are coexisting. I know the characters are often going to use the word timeline, but I think universe is more appropriate. And it's not like Bruce took Barry's story and made an educated guess on how time travel might actually work. It's not just a theory. He straight up says,
"You probably saw a movie that told you if you went back and changed the past, you'd create a kind of a branched timeline. Well, time doesn't work like that. That's not how time works.
If I had a nickel for every time someone named Bruce claimed to know exactly how time travel works without any reason as to why he would know in the first place, I'd have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I would love to know what experience Bruce Wayne has with time travel, considering his world doesn't even have a speedster, aka the only in-universe method of time travel that we know of, and I damn sure fucking hope no one's used
"He knows how time travel works cause he's Batman."
Because you know who else is Batman and doesn't know how time travel works?
It's Ben Affleck.
Funnily enough, if Batfleck had Michael Keaton's knowledge on time travel, then the movie doesn't happen because he would have just warned Barry that he would be putting himself in another universe, essentially abandoning his father. And remember, this is like 2020's Batfleck, with Flash as his friend for several years, and yet Michael Keaton was somehow able to learn time travel before 2013 without a Flash?
Okay.
To the inevitable comments asking me if time travel is basically universe hopping, then why did I make such a big hoopla about Barry's decisions if they don't actually affect the original timeline he was in? That would be hindsight bias? Fallacy? I don't know what the term is. Barry was operating on limited information he had at the time, so his character will be criticized if his choices breach ethics or consistency based on said information. Anyway, Barry explains that in his world, Batman is the team leader, the strategist, the best detective in the world. So he needs Bruce to help him find an undercover alien named Superman and stop Zod from taking over. Wait, did he just say find Superman?
The world needs Superman. You're the best detective in the world. You're probably the only person who can help me find him.
But what happened to there's no Superman?
There's no Superman. The world needs Superman. There's no Superman.
So if Barry now thinks Superman exists, then why is he acting like Clark is living under a rock and needs to be told to take care of Zod? Why doesn't he think it's possible Clark is currently preparing to turn himself in like he did in Man of Steel? Remember, Zod just sent out his message, and at least half a day goes by before he's in his custody. Anyway, what does Bruce say when prompted with this world-changing call to action?
Will you help us?
Pass.
You what?
Bruce was just proud of how Gotham became one of the safest cities in the world, which I'm assuming is to his credit. Yet he just doesn't care that this plus the rest of the world is about to be tossed in a grave, and the movie moves right along with zero explanation. Nah, this ain't even an okay moment. What the actual fuck is wrong with you? So Barry walks over to this manhole and somehow knows it's even here and that it's an entrance to the Batcave. Even if we pretend that the Michael Keaton Wayne property layout is identical to the Ben Affleck Wayne property, because it's not. I highly doubt that Bruce had Barry entering the Batcave through a manhole and not the main and more practical entrance. Barry and Terry are breaking into the Batcave to use Bruce's connection to NASA to find records of Superman's pod landing in Kansas. And I guess Batman doesn't have a password on his super duper ultra high tech turbo computer that has access to fucking NASA data.
You idiot!
Wait, why hasn't Barry googled Clark Kent or any associates like Lois Lane first? He could have had Terry run over to her and ask about Clark, assuming this universe has a Lois while he works the computer. Anywho, the computer comes up with nothing, and Barry knows Bruce is watching him because of this little red bulb, I guess, and he starts regurgitating something else Bruce said during his time travel explanation. He said there will be inevitable intersections between universes, the intersections being certain events or people that those universes share, but other universes are wildly divergent. Then Barry points out that Bruce having an Alfred is an inevitable intersection, just because he now knows a whopping 2 universes have an Alfred, and this can only be explained with the concept of fate? He doesn't know what the other infinite universes consist of. Much like how Cyborg, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman don't exist in this universe, Alfred could not exist in the next one. I wouldn't exactly call 2 universes sharing a relationship with the same 2 people an inevitable intersection. I wouldn't use the word inevitable period, because if wildly divergent universes exist out there without these intersections like Bruce claims, then it can't be inevitable. With Barry's logic, he should be calling Bruce Wayne being Batman an inevitable intersection. He should be calling Bruce Wayne living in Gotham an inevitable intersection. He should be calling Bruce Bruce Wayne being rich an inevitable intersection. He should be calling Nora and Henry being married an inevitable intersection. He should be calling them owning this specific house an inevitable intersection, just because that's how it is in the only other universe he knows. TLDR, the inevitable intersection shit is stupid. Barry then says, "Sorry about your parents, I'm just trying to save mine." And that's the motivation to get Bruce to help him? Why? Bruce already knows that the world is going to end. Barry is trying to save everyone. I guess this guy Bruce met 5 minutes ago who he tried to put in a coma is suddenly very special to him and only his parents matter. Is the motivation knowing that other Bruces out there have an Alfred? Is this supposed to be like a "Alfred would have wanted me to help" moment? Why would he need to know another Alfred exists to think that if he already had an Alfred of his own? Why is the world ending not enough motivation to help Barry to begin with?
It is of no concern.
So Bruce does the detectiving while Barry and Terry snooze and figures out Superman is being held in a Siberian black site. They fly over there in Bruce's bat plane, and once they break in, this happens. Look, I get that this movie is intentionally making Terry the dumbest man alive, only to make Barry take first place by the end of the movie. But like, this is an insult to basic human motor function. The fucking speedster just watches the shovel slowly tip over as he anxiously flutters his fingers instead of reaching out and stopping it. The thing is literally a foot away from him and he just keeps his arms in. You can't make this up. Though this ultimately doesn't matter, as opening this bin's lid was already loud enough to get the attention of these two scientists. I do wonder how the shovel even fell to begin with. Take a close look at this shit. The shovel isn't even directly upright, it's leaning against the pillar and the lid didn't even push it forward. It doesn't even touch the shovel, for crying out loud. What I think happened is that a little ghost named Andy Muschietti was on the other side of this room and pulled on a long string that was tied to the shovel's handle to make this contrived BS physically possible. This doesn't mean Barry is safe. Why the fuck is he letting the person he very well knows is clumsy and stupid take the lead in a situation where they don't know where to go and need to be stealthy? To enforce how clueless he is, a minute ago Terry asked where Batman had gone, and Barry had to point out that he left footprints in the snow. And why is Barry letting Terry go around the front of this pillar in full view of these scientists instead of behind it where they just were? Barry doesn't even know there's an exit. Terry is the one who sees it. He should be telling him to stay hidden until they know where they're going. Some armed guards pour in after a scientist sounds the alarm, and Terry doesn't use super speed to remove their guns or push them. And you can't excuse this with inexperience because he literally knocks out a guard later without anyone telling him to. And he can think with super speed. So Terry lets them fire and sees the bullets coming in slow motion, but somehow didn't see the shovel fall in slow motion. He relocates Barry behind the pillar because the writers remembered that was a good hiding spot, causing Barry to vomit. The guards come up to them. Terry still doesn't neutralize them, but it's all good because they don't immediately shoot, even though they did as soon as they came into the room upon seeing them surrender. Then a noise is heard from above, and it's Batman on this balcony? What the fuck was he doing? Was he just watching Barry and Terry get guns pointed at them, shot at, and did nothing about it? He then flies down, breaks physics and the bones of the guards. The three find a giant metal scrotum and deduce Superman is in there, and Batman uses a Game Boy to try to hack the computer to open it. But Terry uses super speed to try every password combination, and they're doing the thing again where technology has super speed. Great work, fellas.
I just wanted to be like
the CW, and I wanted you to be better.
They go inside, it's actually Sasha Kaye, everyone and their neighbors saw this coming, and Batman says,
"It's not him. We've got to go."
Okay, first of all, you have no idea what Superman looks like. All you know is he's a humanoid alien. Second, the multiverse expert doesn't think it's possible that Superman in this universe could look totally different from Barry's, even though he was unrecognizable to Barry when they first met and was told that Batfleck is much younger. Third, the world's greatest detective can't put together that someone secretly imprisoned in a highly secured tank who is clearly starved and experimented on might be this way because of how powerful they
they are at full capacity. And fourth, Bat-fucking-Man decides to leave a clearly starved and experimented on person to continue suffering in this black site.
No offense, but you are a stupid asshole.
Oh, I guess I have to spell this shit out because video literacy is dead. When I say Superman in this universe could look different from Barry's, that includes gender. Both Barry and Michael Keaton are aware that genetically different Batmen exist. Gender could be one of those differences. They should both know this. Barry has the common decency to save her, then grabs the Supergirl suit, which is conveniently in the testicle with her? This mercenary group contained what they understood to be a supernatural being, and they decided to keep her alien clothing, something they would be interested in studying and something that could potentially help her break out, in her cell. By the way, this should have been the moment Barry realizes that this is Superman. You did see the giant Superman logo on the fabric on the ground that you probably took a look at before grabbing it, because otherwise, why would you take this random article with you, right? You know, the logo you should probably recognize by just glancing at it since it belongs to your hero.
He's my hero.
The four of them hustle through the corridor and run into Sheev, who Terry takes care of with super speed. But then a bullet goes through Terry's knee from behind, and it's going straight, meaning someone shot this while laying down or crouching really low, except that someone is revealed to be standing and aiming for the upper torso, so that's weird. But it also doesn't make sense because there's no one behind Terry when he throws Sheev, and everything is in flash time from that point until the bullet goes through, making the shot impossible, because that means the soldier would have had to pull the trigger before Terry even ran to Sheev, and there's no one behind Sheev, and they would have seen him if he was, and the wound doesn't instantly heal, even though a giant hole in his chest quickly filled itself back up with meat earlier. And what I'm getting at is the shot, the position of the injury, and the lack of healing are all insanely contrived to sideline Terry for the rest of the scene, because otherwise he would continue to KO the soldiers, and then Batman doesn't get to do anything. There's no epic action sequence to escape, and Kara doesn't get her revenge. Anyway, Batman busts him out, but they crash land on the roof and get surrounded, and they're still not executed on sight for some reason. Instead, the mercenaries just stand and point their guns. Like, they don't say anything or force them to move, and they just let Barry and Batman talk. It's really awkward. But silly me, they're simply waiting for Kara's cue to fly up once she's nourished by the sun. Kara faints after wiping them all out, and once they're back at Wayne Manor, Barry tells Terry he was very confident he was going to find Superman, and if he did, dealing with Zod would be super simple. Even though he just fucking witnessed a bulletproof woman with super speed who can fly and kick ass, and he's definitely seen the logo on the suit he brought back with him by this point, so he's just unbelievably stupid, I guess. Can we talk about the timing of Zod's arrival being really weird in this context? The reason he found Clark's location at the time he did in Man of Steel, 33 years after Krypton exploded, was because
we detected a distress beacon, which you triggered when you accessed the ancient scout ship.
Accessed with the little Superman command key, which was in the pod he arrived in. In the Flash, Zod later confirms Clark never made it to Earth, so if the command key in this universe was in Kara's pod, then how and when did it make its way to the scout ship? Assuming it's not conveniently buried next to the Siberian Black Site, rather in Canada and was just recently discovered like in Man of Steel, then the mercenaries would have needed to see this hole on this panel in the ship to even guess that that's where it goes, just like Clark did. And I know you're yelling at me right now, telling me Kara said,
General Zod is here. He must have tracked my pod signal.
So she guesses he found Earth through a different way, but that still doesn't mean the timing isn't contrived. Hasn't Kara been here for years? She certainly didn't land last week by the looks of it. Extremely weak, already experimented on, in this cage designed for her. Why wasn't Zod able to track Clark's signal in Man of Steel? If it's because his pod wasn't traceable, then why the hell is Kara's? Bottom line is, Zod just happened to track Kara's signal at the same time the distress call was sent under very different circumstances in Man of Steel.
Okay.
Kara gets dressed and recovers in the sun, but then reveals her resentment for the human race, given she was imprisoned and treated like shit upon arriving. And oh my god, I would piss off Sasha Kaye if it meant I could get this death stare from her. This scene has her acknowledge that billions of humans are about to be annihilated by Zod, but she doesn't care because she's Kryptonian and humans are pieces of shit because they abused her. We all got that? Good. Wouldn't want us to forget this in a couple of minutes. Anyway, the writers forget this in a couple minutes when Kara flies over to Zod and lets out a phoned-in "Kal-El, no!" as his army begins firing on the humans. She didn't care that Zod was about to kill them, and is now suddenly concerned that Zod is killing them. Nothing additional has happened in between these two moments. Meanwhile, at the Batcave, Barry and Bruce are setting up a contraption to replicate the accident that gave him his powers. I love how chemicals splashing on the person is a vital part to getting speedster powers, but instead of having the chemicals pour onto Barry as the lightning comes down to guarantee he will be touched by both at the same time, they have the chemicals sitting on shelves off to the side, so they just kind of hope that the lightning branches out and explodes the bottles, enough for the liquid to reach Barry. Imagine if it didn't. That would have been a waste of a trial and possibly killed him. Remember, the original accident had lightning going straight through the chemicals in Barry's direction. I don't know, I just expected a smarter contraption from two people who are supposed to be smart. And it fails. And Bruce can't shock Barry again, 'cause it fried his circuits. Then Kara is here, meaning she didn't do jack shit about Zod murdering a bunch of people she supposedly empathized with on a whim. But I guess she actually doesn't care. Why did she even go to Zod if she wasn't going to talk or attack him? Don't know, she's just here now. Kara, who just got here, somehow knows exactly what Barry and Bruce are trying to accomplish. Because she doesn't ask questions, no one tells her what's going on, she just takes Barry up to the clouds to get him struck again. And it fails. Again. It isn't until Terry and Barry touch tips when the Speed Force finally flows through Barry, I guess. And now he has powers. Barry has himself a nap to recover for a bit, which, fair enough, both he and Terry were pretty beat and flopping around after getting struck by lightning. That's fine, as long as Barry has any semblance of urgency to stop Zod once he recovers. After all, that's the whole reason he decided to further break the rules, right? Anyway, Barry has no semblance of urgency as he chills with Terry while footage of a genocide is playing on the screen next to them. He spends 2 minutes doing this and talking about unimportant things with Kara, instead of pressuring everyone to race over to Zod. Every fucking second counts when multiple spacecrafts are raining hell on people. They even have a close-up of the attack, and nobody in production thought this was embarrassing. The things they chat about can be discussed while aboard the bat plane they're about to ride to the battlefield. Which, wait a minute, why the fuck would the two people with super speed need a fucking lift or take the slower option when lives are actively being lost?
It is of no concern.
Barry even says the world engines will be destroying much more than just Metropolis with every passing second that we don't stop Zod, while he's on the bat plane, which is a nice serving of irony, so good job if the intention was to make this scene look like a parody. Once the superpowered trio are on the ground, Kara flies up to Zod to hear him out? She doesn't say a word, she just stares at him as the humans she now re-empathizes with are being slaughtered behind her, and she lets Zod activate something on his Pip-Boy instead of trying to restrain him, and it turns out he activated the world engine, so...
Good job!
While Kara is up there, Barry and Terry just stand around and do fucking nothing for 40 seconds as their fellow humans get annihilated. 'Cause it ain't a live-action Flash project if there isn't any stopping to watch. Barry then tells Terry,
and yeah, they're Kryptonian and we won't be able to kill them.
Which, I don't know how Barry even knows that, but it establishes the durability of the Kryptonians. And it raises the stakes, I suppose. Would be a shame if this was immediately contradicted. So now,
Thanks to that shot, there is at least one move that both Flashes are easily capable of performing to insta-kill a Kryptonian.
Good job.
Then this exchange happens.
Jesus, they're fast. Yes, but not as fast as us.
In case anyone is about to tell me that the Kryptonian super speed is equivalent to Flash super speed. It's not until Kara is told that Kal-El did not survive that she finally decides to stop Zod. And no, she was not going to ask him about that. She was very convinced that Kal-El simply did not land on Earth and was never found by Zod. So no idea what she was going to get out of just staring at him. Barry then tells Terry that the new plan is to create a little tornado to distract the enemy, and then Terry will kick them, instead of telling him to simply reverse flash through their chests, cause it ain't a live-action Flash project if there isn't any forgetting about instant win moves. So Terry performs a kick, but he builds up too much charge, so he relieves himself by using Force Lightning. A move that would have been useful against Steppenwolf or the Parademons in Justice League, but was never used by Barry, I guess. It would be fair to Steelman this as a move he simply didn't learn yet, like how that can be assumed about phasing, if it wasn't a result of simply using super speed. Just like Terry, this would have been one of the very first things Barry figured out, since it's literally a side effect from using his powers. The fight continues, it looks like absolute shit. Barry and Terry aren't helping Kara kill Zod for some reason.
Bruce, you copy.
Where's Kara? You go find her.
So these dipshits didn't give their most powerful ally an earpiece to communicate. No way to tell each other when they need help or what's going on. Batman the strategist, ladies and gentlemen. Sure hope this doesn't bite them in the ass later. 24 seconds pass between the moment Terry goes to look for Kara and her getting impaled. It takes 1 minute and 25 seconds for Terry to find her with super speed, which is absolutely ridiculous, and he coincidentally does right as Zod dips. All the while, Barry stands around and does nothing, when he could have been helping Terry find Kara. The same fucker that said this.
Zod somehow controls the world engines, which will be destroying much more than just Metropolis now, with every passing second that we don't stop him.
Actual useless Oh yeah, Batman offed himself in a kamikaze attempt because his ship took damage and his ejector seat didn't work.
No!
Terry decides they should time travel to before their deaths and do things a little differently. Barry joins him, and instead of actually stating what they're going to change to be on the same page and minimize the amount of times they have to time travel, they're just like,
you know what you're gonna change? I know what I'm gonna change.
But wouldn't changing the past just put him in yet another universe? I thought that was the whole point of this stupid-ass movie. Upon exiting the Chrono Bowl, Barry and Terry appear in front of themselves from a few minutes ago, literally showing us there are now 4 Flashes on the battlefield. Hope the writers don't immediately forget this. Anyway, the writers immediately forget this when Barry is able to instantly connect to past Batman's comms and talk to him, and past Barry and past Terry never show up. You know, if there are now duplicates of yourself, you might want to tell them why and your new plan so they can help out. Zod doesn't stand a chance against one speedster with a vibrating hand. Imagine 4 of them. Terry's change is going straight to Kara now that he knows where she was, and he decides to run in circles around Zod, instead of reverse flashing or palpatining him. Kara ends up dying again. Barry's change is telling Batman that the Kryptonian ships are shield protected, so he goes for this giant. This causes him to be grounded and go 1v1 with Space Shack for a little bit. Bruce ends up dying again.
Oh no!
You might have noticed I virtually put air quotes around Barry's change, and that's because, aside from giving Bruce one new piece of information, the sack of shit once again didn't do fuck all. He's seen doing nothing but watching Batman, is off screen for nearly 2 minutes, and then shows up as he's dying. What the fuck were you doing while the normal human was going head to dick with a Kryptonian Goliath? God, I want to call him the C word from here on out.
Cunt.
Thank you, Rocket. So after going out of their way to save Batman and Supergirl a whopping
One time, Barry is already hesitant to try again. He wants to give up on saving the world because a total of 2 timelines have them die. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Feora comes in out of nowhere while Barry and Terry are distracted trying to remove metal that flung into his arm, and just pushes them off to the side? That's kind of a waste. I guess she has no lethal weapons on her. Why didn't you lead with that? You could have killed both of them right here and saved us from the ending of this poor excuse of a movie. Add that to the list of Kryptonian killing moves. Terry even vibrated the blade a little bit, which should have reminded Barry of the reverse flash move, but alas, the dipshit has definitively given up. He's just gonna chill in the Chrono Bowl as Terry... I can't even say actually tries, because take a look at this brain rot. How the fuck do you arrive late? You literally fixed this problem earlier by knowing where they were. Just repeat what you did, but instead of the running in circles bullshit, just stab him with your new Kryptonian killing blade. Maybe he'll get it right on the next attempt? So Terry makes it just in the nick of time, but gets clotheslined? How was Zod able to react to him?
Jesus, they're fast. Yes, but not as fast as us.
Why come at him from the side and not stab him in the back? Christ almighty, what do we got for the next try? Oh, so Terry's doing it all right this time, but Zod has eyes on the back of his head and can react to Flash-level super speed because the plot hole fairy decided he can. And it's twice as bad when you realize these last 2 attempts would have absolutely succeeded if Barry was there to charge Zod at the same time Terry did. But he's just gonna stand back and be a shitty hero, because otherwise the movie can't label this as an inevitable intersection.
Barry, this is an inevitable intersection.
I'm gonna give Terry a pat on the back because he does call out Barry for doing nothing.
Where were you? What, you just stand here the whole time?
Barry tells Terry they need to stop because the Chrono Bowl is starting to peel open. So this is the consequence for retrying after a grand total of 5 times. But again, this wouldn't have happened if they got it right by the second try, which they absolutely should have. Then Barry finally comes to terms with his parents' situation a second time and echoes his mom's irrelevant line about not every problem having a solution. And they do this with only the utmost subtlety.
Not every problem has a solution.
Every problem has a solution.
Sometimes we just have to let go.
Terry's like, fuck you, don't let go of mom, just let me try one more time. Which, him being upset about this makes no sense, because once again, Barry is going to have to go back and let Nora die regardless so he can return to his universe. As Terry leaves, the being of pure crust and edge from earlier enters and stops Barry. This is Not Savitar, a version of Terry from the future who pushed Barry out of the Chrono Bowl to create himself and has been trying to save Batman and Supergirl for decades, as he is now an old man. As embarrassing as it is that a speedster with 2 Kryptonian ending moves can't kill a Kryptonian after a lifetime of tries, keep in mind, he's always been accompanied by at least 2 more Flashes and 1 Supergirl, and they still somehow can't kill Zod. The reason Not Savitar looks like this is because Terry's been getting pieces of Kryptonian metal flung into his body from failing to phase. You'd think he'd start succeeding after the first few times, but then we wouldn't get the epic emo Savitar look. Remember how 1 hole through the knee was enough to incapacitate Terry for a long time and he couldn't even insta-heal? Yeah, now he has big pieces of alien shards embedded in his body, mainly around his chest, neck, and back. Yet he's alive and at his most powerful. Somehow. I'm not gonna entertain rationalizing what the fuck is going on mechanically because it will end in a massive migraine, and the movie's already beyond the point of no return, so even if this part made perfect sense, it's not like it's gonna enhance the overall quality in any meaningful way. So Not Savitar is here to kill Barry. Apparently Barry is an inevitable intersection that's stopping him from succeeding because Barry will go back and let Nora die no matter what. And he explains all of this to Barry, which there's no point to. He already had him restrained, which was a perfect moment to kill him. He takes long enough for Terry to come back, and then Terry takes the stab for Barry. And this erases Not Savitar from existence. The most powerful Flash variant in the Snyderverse is defeated because he stopped to talk.
Oh, you were waiting for me to talk about the cameos, right? Must have slipped my mind, because they add fucking nothing to the story. The three Flashes stared up at how all this time traveling is causing other chronobolts to crash into each other, which also would have been a great time for Not Savitar to puncture Barry, but I guess he was just so in awe of the colorful lights. The chronobolts had Nicolas Cage Superman, because that was a movie idea that never saw the light of day. Jay Garrick, Helen Slater's Supergirl, and Christopher Reeve's Superman. Adam West Batman, who might have been made with AI considering his bat ears are missing. And George Reeves Superman. And you're a lost cause if it needs to be explained why including those last three is downright disrespectful and unethical.
But their families gave Warner Bros. Permission.
Shut the fuck up. They do not speak for the deceased. These aren't people who were once part of the DCEU or Snyderverse. Not even as a running gag. Even Disney knew when to stop. This movie isn't a fucking celebration of the multiverse or DC's history. The one character from the past that they integrated into the story is destined to be killed along with his entire planet.
How embarrassing.
They canonized these characters into this shitstorm in an attempt to make you gasp and point. Where the fuck is the live-action Flash who just retired from a 9-season show and is actually beloved?
But Advocate, you hate that Flash, and the time travel mechanics in the Arrowverse are inconsistent with this movie.
Look, first of all, I hate that Flash's writing. Second, these two have already met. Plus, they had no problem forcing Christopher Reeve's Superman who time travels in his own movie. See, the cameo choices are so fucked that I'm turning my brain off and ignoring the world-building implications to say they might as well have picked from the Arrowverse. At least, those actors are still alive. And third, if you're going to throw in brief cameos in a Flash multiverse movie, I expect more Flashes, not Batman and super people. And I especially don't expect cloning fucking Ezra Miller.
Wait, he's Batman?
Apparently, this isn't even supposed to be Teddy Sears, just generic Golden Age Flash, but he, Grant Gustin, and John Wesley Shipp were right there. Is there a reason why the ensemble we got were chosen over more meaningful and respectful ones, I wonder?
As long as there were DC characters, everything was allowed, adds Andy. And I made a list of superheroes that I love, that I would love to see, and it was a long list. And then, for time matters, for pacing, we had to shortlist that a little bit. The movie is the result of that short list, but I'm pretty thrilled by the superheroes that we gather.
Yeah, okay, Andy, whatever you say. Let's just wrap this up. People think this is a genuinely good scene, probably because the characters are acting sad and Barry is saying goodbye, but there are 3 things that he does before he even returns the tomato can that should be changing the past again. First, he takes a pack of baby wipes and removes one, which would have been used by someone else, and down the line, the pack will now run out faster than it would have. If it hasn't clicked yet, I'm explaining the butterfly effect, the very thing he knows he needs to avoid. Second, the interaction with Nora itself. He wastes 1 minute and 45 seconds of her time, which she would have otherwise spent continuing to pick groceries, which could now change where she falls in line at the checkout, which cashier attends her, which lights she runs into on the way home, what time she gets home. I'm explaining the butterfly effect again. He fucking knows he needs to let his mom's trip to the store play out exactly as it did if he wants to return to his original universe. And third, Nora discards a tissue on Barry, so a repeat of the baby wipes. And I sure fucking hope Barry put these clothes back exactly where he found them, for the same reasons. Anyway, as Barry returns the tomato can to its place, he looks up at the camera pointing at him. I guess he sees no issue with his older self showing up on this tape from 15 years ago that will be fixed by Bruce and examined for Henry's appeal. Whatever, he gives the camera a pensive look, almost as if he has an idea. But there isn't an idea, there can't be an idea, because there is nothing you can change in the past without universe hopping. A tough pill to swallow, but he's now learned his lesson, right? Right?
Right? Barry runs to the future and not the present for some reason. Yes, the future, because it's daytime and Iris is gone. Why did he choose to return several hours after the time when he left?
It is of no concern.
Iris had left a note saying she'll see him in court, which Barry is now late for. Gee, if only he had the choice to return earlier, he could have gotten to court on time. Barry reminds us that Not Savitar definitely scrambled his brain earlier by using super speed in front of several people. From their perspective, a man just teleported in front of them while lightning streaks followed behind him and created sparks.
Kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
He could have, like, stopped behind a tree or something, but since none of these civilians react whatsoever, normies will tell you this is 100% okay and the scene is fine. Since this is Henry's appeal, Bruce's uncorrupted security footage will be presented in an attempt to exonerate him, but as we all know, it's apparently useless since Henry never looked up and showed his face. Cause that's how it happened, and with the exception of talking to his mom and wiping his face, Barry had everything play out exactly as it did so he wouldn't universe hop, right? 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 Henry now looks up at the camera, because this fucking moron decided to move all the tomato cans to the top shelf. He changed the past again. He didn't learn his fucking lesson. George Clooney's Bruce Wayne shows up as evidence Barry's not in his own universe, which beckons the questions of where the hell is this universe's Barry? Why isn't he at his father's appeal? Why wasn't he at his apartment? Why didn't our Barry pop out in front of him when exiting the Chrono Bowl, wherever he is? Holy shit, is it an extreme coincidence that this new universe is identical to the original one with a different looking Bruce being the only exception that we know of? Wait, did Barry just not see George Clooney in the Chrono Bowl? He saw Ben Affleck earlier. Wouldn't Clooney have taken his place in every memory he had with Bruce and made Barry realize he hopped again? Fuck me, why even ask? I guess this new universe's Barry also time traveled last night, which would explain this Iris's note, but for some reason he hasn't returned on time for the appeal. Bottom line is, this fucking chode knew this would happen again and he did it anyway. And the movie ends here after Barry is like, oh, oops, this is awkward, giving the impression that he won't simply time travel again and put the tomato cans back where they fucking belong to return to his universe. If he stays here, he's leaving his actual father to rot in prison with no son to visit or call him. In fact, we know Barry stays in this new universe because when he's talking to Arthur in the post-credit scene, he says,
"You're missing the larger premise here. In my timeline."
In my timeline. Meaning the one he's currently in isn't his. And if this new universe's Barry ever returns, then there will be two Barrys. Maybe then he'll go back to his universe, and by that point we'll have wasted a bunch of time here. Who fucking knows? This ending is atrocious, this movie is embarrassing, this character is infuriating. Congratulations to Warner Brothers and Co. for making both of your modern live-action Flashes the worst superheroes of all time. Rest in piss, DCEU, you will not be missed. Though I still haven't watched either Aquaman, maybe those are low-key bangers.
They tried to get rid of me, but from ocean to ocean, they gonna have to deal with me.
Oh yeah, I've been missing out.
Getting paid more than athletes, man, life is sweet. GM on the status, Papa, watch me.
Special thanks to Sheev Talks for reading those statements from the director. He's made several Flash reviews himself, including the later seasons of the show if you're itching for more. If you want to get bullied at school or get shit-talked at the water cooler at work, you can wear this expertly designed doozy by purchasing it through the merch link below. Big thank you to all of these lads for the support on Patreon. I know progress has been slow for personal reasons, but I haven't quit. I'm still at it, expecting to pick up the pace this year. If you haven't seen this tweet I made in like July, I plan to do a season 5 video. The season 4 video reached the goal I set by its first month, which is good enough for me. I'll probably start watching it after this is posted. And of course, shout out to ABuzzo3, Azaz, Dominic the Donkey, Frosted Fakes, Ghost Based, Icteal, Jack Lenehan, Skids, Stephen T, Yodi, and Studio Devil.
The Flash is a masterpiece. We need a CW live-action Flash show.